I think we can go. Welcome, everybody, to the Rye-Town Park Commission meeting of Tuesday, September 17th, 2019. Please rise and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
As Debbie calls the roll, I note that Commissioner Salonicho has been substituted for by Councilwoman Lindsay Jackson of the town of Rye, and Bart Didden, trustee in Portchester, is sitting in for Mayor Falenka. And Rybrook is not represented this evening. The mayor is away, as are the other two. So call the roll, Debbie, formally, please.
Commissioner Hurd?
Here.
Commissioner Cohn?
Here.
Acting Commissioner Didden?
Here.
Acting Commissioner Jackson?
Here.
President Zuckerman?
Here. Because we have substitutes tonight, and we may have had some last month as well, we're going to skip over the adoption of minutes for tonight. Public comment on non-agenda items. Does any member of the public wish to speak at this time? Mr. Horner, please come to the podium.
Hi, I've appeared, Philip Horner from Rye-Neck and Mamaroneck. I've appeared before you a couple of times in May and June and expressed some concern about the new fees and parking and how it might work out. And then in July, I sent an email and with observations to the board. I said I'd like to kind of like complete personal input to you folks about what I saw and heard. The beach was very well maintained this year. It's beautiful, as always. But the points I made before are still quite of a concern. I used the euphemism, the demographics have changed the last time. And the other day, you know, I was there on Saturday, and the crowd is almost 100% white now, Anglo-white, okay? It used to be very mixed, and that's not true anymore. The other thing is that Oakland, going back 50 years, right? We've been taking 4 kids there and a long time ago. It was always family oriented, and there are many fewer children there now. Okay, so, you know, the question is why? It must have something to do with the fees, because like a personal experience, friends of ours' grandson, who's in college, was home for the summer, took his girlfriend over there. All 3 generations live in Rye-Neck. You know, this was on the Saturday in July 4th weekend. Cost him $55 to go on the beach. You know, like he's used to, you know, kind of walking on as again, and it didn't really cost much of anything. $55 for 2 local residents that are in college. So one of the things you might want to look at is what exactly is the definition of a family? You know, who should, you know, get access? And that would be my recommendation. That in fact, you promised to do this, Gary, back in May, that you would reassess the whole scheme of things, because it may go beyond the price to like what documents do you have to show? How do you prove you're a resident and stuff? That may be scaring off people or burdening them. I'm not, you know, none of this stuff I can prove, but I see what the end result is. De facto, the beach is different than it used to be. So I urge.
Can I ask you one question? When you say look at documents, are you referring to the documents necessary for a resident permit, or for the or for daily beach use? In other words, if you have a permit.
Yeah, I think you're both. I'm focused more on a resident because I'm a resident, and that shouldn't. It's a public park. It shouldn't really be that expensive to go there. I know you have a headache if there's too many people coming from other areas that, you know, that create parking problems and stuff. I understand there's issues, but either both the price for residents, parking beach, and what the rules are about how you prove it. I think you should revisit them and see what the implication
Well,
is.
we did revisit them during the year. We changed the rates mid-year. I don't remember exactly when. And we instituted a 2-hour parking fee rather than having people 4 hours. And as I said before, hopefully we will be able to get data from our parking kiosk and from our phone app, and together with our resident permits, and look and see exactly where people are coming from, how much they're paying, at
Yeah,
what
right.
times of the day. And I know we have a young lady from the Westmore News, a reporter, who was asking about that, and I think she's writing about the parking structure based on the presentation last week from Alon of our staff.
Right.
But we're going to be looking at this in the off-season with the idea of modifying the rates as necessary, as the commission determines. And I agree, there have been a lot of complaints about some of the fees, and we have to see exactly which fees they are and whether the commission wants to adjust them in any way. And look, I have my own personal views about it, and frankly, and I've mentioned this to others, I would love to see us be able to afford no beach fee if it's possible. I don't know if it is. I don't know what the other commissioners feel about that. But it's something that'll be discussed and over the, fall and winter season, so that we can hit the ground running for next season. But definitely will be reviewed.
And
Okay, maybe you could even hold a public hearing on it when you get to the reconsideration to hear, the individual complaints, The other point, I
Let me just
understand.
say something. When we set the fees, we do it at a meeting, and it's on the agenda, and
Yeah.
people can speak to it. And what you're saying is you probably would like more time for the public to talk about it, and we could probably set that time aside.
Yeah, okay, thank you. The other thing is that, we go there all the time, maybe 20 times in the summer. It did seem like some of the fees changed as you went along, and there was the boards were made bigger and more explicit. That's good news, bad news. It means that the thing's in flux, so that people really don't know what the rules are. If you change them 2 weeks after you start because you made an adjustment, nobody really knows. So it's still a damper on coming if everybody's uncertain. So publicity with a real, explain the whole thing next April or May would
I
be a
think
good
with the
idea.
signage, you're right about the signage. The rates did change, but they didn't fluctuate too much. The signage fluctuated because some of the signs that originally were installed were not clear enough. And so we put other signs up that were more clear. And I think, Debbie, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think we've had a lot fewer complaints in the last month and people have gotten used to the system. Am I correct?
Yes.
And hopefully, this was the first year. Hopefully, next year, people will have already been used to the system and will know how it works. And as I say, the key is, the commission will discuss the rate structure for next year, probably in the fall and winter.
Okay, sure. That's great, and I encourage you to do that. I just come in order to nudge you a little bit, to keep the subject in front of you and do
Your
what you can.
comments are
do-
always appreciated, and we know that you're a regular park goer, and so you see things in the park, and we appreciate you telling us about them.
Okay.
One thing I wanted to add. The department heads have been holding debriefing meetings over the last week. We've got 1 or 2 more or 3 more to go, where we've been asking ourselves, how can we improve the system? How can we make it better? And we've come up with a number of ideas to help get information out and ease the experience of the people coming to the park.
Okay, I appreciate that, and, we'll see what happens.
Thank you again, Mr. Horner.
Gary, if
Yeah, yes,
if I
Bart.
may, thank you. I think the gentleman, brings up a great point about notice about fees. And, I mean, the mayor sits here normally, and I'm just filling in for him, but if through your office, you can send to the whole village board when there's going to be discussions about fees, because I'm sure that there's a number of Portchester residents besides just Rhinebeck, like this gentleman, that would like to come and express their views about the fee structure. And, the gentleman's right. It's a park. Parks are to be used and enjoyed. And, I'd like to, I don't know if we get very many people to these meetings from Portchester, but Debbie, I would put it up on my village Facebook page and stuff like that to try and drive more interest
Bart-
in what's going on.
Bart, all of it-
Because I get calls, and you know this, Fritz has, brought it to you. We've gotten calls about the
Sure.
fee structures and stuff, and I'm glad you guys addressed them mid-year, but I think the people should have as much notice as possible when it's going to be discussed, so they can tell you what they're thinking.
Well, we usually set the agendas a week or so beforehand, and they're all public. And of course, the mayor gets it and can disseminate it to the trustees and to the entire village of Portchester, should he desire to do that. And we put it on the,
Yep.
on the website, on the town website, the park website. So,
It
we'd love.
takes no effort at all to add you to our distribution list.
That would be
Well,
great.
we notice the meeting at least a week in advance, and the preliminary agenda is published then. So
That,
you'll get it automatically then.
thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
Next item is a request from Sasha Herzog to become a Rye-Town Park volunteer to conduct beach cleanup activities through the winter. Debbie?
I don't see her here. Russ, you've spoken with Sasha and her mom, correct?
I have.
Bill, you want to fill us in?
What it is, maybe?
Yeah?
Yeah, this is a girl who lives in, I think, Pelham, but she's very familiar with Playland and the beach in Rye-Town Park and the beach there. And she has a bat mitzvah service component to her bat mitzvah, which she would like to do working at the beach, Playland Beach and Rye Beach, to do ongoing cleanups, basically mostly just on her own. Her mother is a coastal environmental biologist, I think, so she's very well qualified to help with this project. We have our own 2 fall and 2 winter cleanups that we do on Saturdays, and I had said to her that she could happily join with those, but I guess she's fairly religious, and so Saturday's not really a time that she would be able to make it. But we said, that as far as I know, nothing has been decided yet. We've been going back and forth as to clarifying different things, but I think it's a great idea, and I'm hopeful that we'll be able to make it work, and so we're on it.
Thank you. The purpose of having approve a request to become a volunteer is for insurance purposes. Once you're designated a volunteer, then you can be covered with our insurance. Is that correct, Debbie?
That's my understanding.
Right. So that's why we declare a volunteer. How she works, when she works to come to the park, that would be up to the park director with you, to whoever's overseeing these activities, to determine it. And determine when she's there, so.
So, well, I'll continue. This just came up a couple weeks ago, so we're still trying to understand exactly what
I mean,
would need to be done, but that's one of the
I mean,
things.
is this a necessary thing? I don't have a problem asking for a vote tonight. If you think it's best that we hold off, we can hold off.
No, I would say we should go ahead. But, we're going to, and of course, Russ also very aware of, we're happy to do it, but we realize that everything has to be according to the requirements.
She's not going out there as a volunteer whenever she wants to go out there with nobody around.
Well, she likes to go because that's the dog park, and she wants to be able to do. This is an aside, but she loves dogs, and she likes the idea that that Playland has the dog park, and so part of her project will be to determine how well the dog people pick up after their dogs. In other words, is it a problem?
That's a good one.
I don't know how much more you want me to get into this about, but
She's a
there are all
pooper-
these little
pooper snooper.
details that go on. And it's kind of
Good
fun.
one, Josh.
That's
A
it.
pooper, scooper, snooper, right. Right. Well, I don't have an objection. Does anybody else, can I get a motion and a second to approve Sasha Herzog as a Rye-Town Park
I motion.
volunteer?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
None opposed. Soul Riders, we have a request from the Soul Riders, which, to tie ribbons in the park. They do this every year, to support their causes, especially cancer. And as I say, they do this every year. I'm just curious, do they also do it in Portchester, Bart? Do you have any idea? Or Rye, well, nobody's here from Rybrook. Do you know if it's only in the city of Rye?
I thought the city of Rye has, isn't it, tie the town pink?
Pink.
Or,
Yep.
yeah.
Yeah,
That's,
I don't think it's a Portchester function.
Because I think that would be good if you communicated with them. I mean, I think that the village of Portchester would be happy to have ribbons tied for.
Absolutely.
Gary, Leslie asked me to come just to be, since she knew I'd be here, she asked me to take any questions if you had them. I don't have anything other to say other than what you have on the proposal, but they've been doing this as their 6th annual.
Yeah.
They get so many volunteers, it's such a big deal, from kids that are 4 years old to kids that are 85 years old, tying these ribbons. They got really good at it last year, they had them all down by November 1. It is a fundraiser that takes place within the city of Rye. They tie the town pink during the month of October. People start ordering now. They're on everyone's homes. But I love that you suggested that, and I'll bring that back to Leslie.
Yeah,
To say, would they like to,
And Rybrook as
Yeah.
well. I know one of my neighbors had a pink ribbon last year. And, you know, I think all the communities, you
well, the
raise more
Rhinebeck
money.
folks, Leslie's from Rhinebeck, and the Rhinebeck folks definitely are
Yeah,
involved.
well, I think that,
I mean, we could even pass along the information to Mayor Murphy to see if the entire village would be interested as well.
So who should Leslie contact? Do you want to forward anything, Debbie, if I send it to you? Absolutely. Thank you.
yeah, and
You
Debbie
do
could
it.
forward it to both, to Mayor Rosenberg, Mayor Falanka, and Mayor Murphy. And
Okay.
just broaden it if they have so many volunteers, and you may be able to get some from those communities as well. This may be, you know, able to expand it. Soul Riders is a wonderful organization, and they do great work, and
You know, it started as
To
breast
be-
cancer, and now they're cancer awareness in general, and it's just a really
yeah,
lovely
I know that. That's why I
Yeah.
hesitated in what I said. I knew,
Yeah.
I remember that.
Okay, so I will forward your questions to Leslie and have her contact everyone through you, Debbie. Terrific. Thank you.
Happy to facilitate.
Motion and a second to approve the request from Soul Riders.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, authorizing, next one is authorizing the Rye-Town Park Commission to engage the services of Race Coastal Engineering to do the inspection work on the reconstruction of the seawall. I'm sorry we didn't get the resolution to you earlier. It's been under negotiation. The original amount was $89,000. It's now down to under $55,000. And that's to provide inspection services on the seawall. They were recommended by Dolph Rothfeld Engineering to do this. They are well-known as, their name indicates, coastal engineers working with that. They have been retained by the village of Portchester to do the construction, inspection, administration, and management of their bulkhead, which is actually a considerably larger project than our seawall. So,
Ask a question.
sure.
The duties that Race is going to be performing, were they originally in Dolph
No,
Rothfeld's?
no, it's not
No?
a duplication. It's,
That's the question.
no, it is not a duplication. Now,
Okay.
I'm not gonna get out of this thing.
And this is in conformity with the requirements from FEMA? For-
Yes, and it will be reimbursable. And just as a note, I'm glad you mentioned FEMA. We were at the park about 10 days ago, meeting with FEMA, and actually not FEMA itself, but Homeland Security, which acts as the agent for FEMA. And they advised us, I had an earlier telephone conversation, but they reinforced that after this project is closed out, we will be getting, the state will reimburse the 10% that is not reimbursable by FEMA.
That's great.
So FEMA will be doing 90%, and the other 10% will be reimbursed by the state. So,
Good
assuming we do
news.
it all correctly.
Yeah.
And do we have a timeline? Or,
No, actually, the timeline for this project, believe it or not, once it starts, they expect to be finished in December.
wow. Let's do it.
So, and the purpose of the inspection is to make sure that they do it all correctly. As we know, we took the low bidder and we went through the various qualifications of the different bidders. And none of the bidders has actually done a seawall, but we felt that they're qualified. There's nothing to disqualify them, and so we chose MTS, and they will be closely monitored by Race Engineering.
MTS is a contracting
Yes.
company?
Okay, so may I have a motion and a second?
So moved.
I'll second.
Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Hurd,
Yes.
Commissioner Cohn,
Yes.
Acting Commissioner Didden,
Yes.
Acting Commissioner Jackson,
Yes.
President Zuckerman.
Yes, thank you all. Management report has been filed. Russ, first, do you have anything to add to the management report?
No, not really.
Unless we have questions. Do any of the commissioners have questions about the management report?
I guess the Fall Festival, I saw that, which is,
Okay,
Bill will
let-
be making a quick presentation on that.
oh, fantastic.
Yeah, so in terms of operations, if there's any
When
questions.
are we having that presentation? Right now.
No,
Oh, that's right. It says management report, briefing on the annual fall festival. Okay.
I think the emphasis is on the word brief, so, but I will try to. I know some of you were there last year. This is the third year for it. First year, it was really just a tiny little thing. But last year, we had good weather. We had great work by all the people on the staff and volunteers who helped out. And it was a roaring success, and we would have had more income if we hadn't kept running out of pumpkins all the time. So if you look at the sketch, we made up a very thorough budget, and making sure that we have all the face paints and all the pumpkins and all the different things that we need in order to be able to handle the crowd that we expect. Because the weather was a little on the iffy side. It got a little better almost at the end, but because we have these pavilions and we had the bouncy castle and all that kind of stuff, it gave kids plenty to do. And basically, if you look at the budget for this year, it's going to be pretty much the same items, but more of them, more, because we could have accommodated more people. It wasn't the lack of space, it was the lack of product. So we're going to try to be a little more bold and get more stuff. And so, bring your friends, relatives, people from Rye Brook, from all parts of the area. We serve a broader community than just Rye, but obviously we want our Rye people to, Rye Town, Rye Park, Rye City. We want them all to be aware of what's going on, and you can go to the website. It's changing from week to week as we get more sponsors who volunteer to come in and help us out. We add that, and so at some point we will end up printing out a flyer, but right now you can go online and see where we are so far.
What's the date of it, Bill?
Pardon?
The date?
It's October 20th,
October 12th.
11 to 3, let me see if there's anything else that I.
October 20th is Halloween window painting in
know.
Rye, so this will be after, I guess.
Yeah, well, we have this problem, you know, in the Rye area, there's just so many different things
Events,
going
yeah.
on, but we figured, window painting is a lot different than
Sure.
the things
No,
that we're
that's a
gonna be
different
doing,
thing.
so theoretically, people could do both, you know.
And have we checked that it's not the same date as the Edith Reed Fall Festival?
No, I'm glad you brought that up, because their plan is in the future, starting this year, to go every other year. And we are in conversations with Janice Seitz to sort of maybe something we could do more of in future years, is to have one big event that both groups would be involved with, or else you could alternate one group one year and another group another year. This is all in the thoughtful stage, but I think we would appreciate any ideas that people have, or if you know of experiences in other places where they've had these things. And so, okay, I think my time is up. Any questions?
No?
No.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I just want to say, while we're doing festivals and management reports, the Westchester Triathlon is this Sunday. It originates at our beach. It goes out and back into Playland Beach, and then goes through the city of Rye, through Rybrook, through Portchester, Rybrook, parts of Harrison, back into the city, and then the run portion is through the city of Rye. And I'm sure the mayor is well aware of that, because his police have to take care of a lot of the traffic situations that occur. So if anybody wants to go out and cheer those people who are participating, it starts, I think it's at 7:30 in the morning at the beach, and goes for several hours. So all are welcome to the beach. And I think on Saturday, they have tents with things to sell and whatnot. It becomes quite a fest.
On Saturday is the youth triathlon and the super sprint.
Right, okay. Forgot about
Russ,
that
wait,
one.
they can't hear you. You want to come up to the mic?
I'll say it. Saturday is the youth triathlon and the super sprint, which is a shorter race than the Sunday race, which is the Olympic distance. So, and Russ, what kinds of things are at the tents all Saturday?
I really don't know who's been booked for the expo.
Right, it's an expo
Yeah.
for stuff athletic stuff. So,
I don't know who they,
all right, just saying, I think it's a great event, and, Rye Town Park has been participating in it for many years. So, thank you all.
I have a couple quick
Sure.
questions. One, do we know when Barley's closing for the season?
They don't plan to close.
They don't plan, okay. And did we address that water issue with that pipe being close to the surface or something?
Actually, we were out there Thursday. Was it Monday? What is today?
Who knows what day it is?
Today's
Tuesday.
Today's Tuesday. Pardon me.
I woke up today and I go, it's Saturday. And my husband was like, no, it's Tuesday.
Today's Tuesday. It feels like the week's already
I
gone.
know.
Yes, we're out there. We're out there yesterday, and not much is going to be done. They're gonna probably wrap the pipe with what do they call it, Debbie? Electrical
Yeah.
heat. Say that again, Russ. Heat tracer.
Heat tracer.
Heat
So
tracer to keep the pipe warm,
Got it.
and hopefully they will be able to operate
Oh, good.
through the winter.
My other question was roof update.
Roof update. The roof is under construction. It is proceeding. Lisa Easton is going out there like twice a week at least to check on it. They put the concrete block in, and they're working on the beams,
Oh, good.
and they're projected to be done sometime in December.
Okay, great. I saw some people working the other day when I was in the park, but,
They've got a full crew working now.
okay, good. And then last question, oh gosh, don't escape me. Oh, yes. This might be for Russ. When I was walking the other day, I just was looking and sort of surprised by the number of garbage cans everywhere. Is that a comment that anybody else, that you get?
Too many?
Too many. I know that sounds crazy,
That
but I
is
felt like
crazy.
there was like, in, just sort of everywhere. And is that a policy, or how do we decide on the number of garbage cans?
We want enough to take all the trash.
Yes.
So the question that I have for you, Emily.
Yes.
Did you see any trash on the ground?
I did not, did not see a piece of trash on the ground,
Good.
but there was a lot of garbage cans, just noticeably, a lot.
I think the,
The number of cans that you see out on all over the grounds, the beach and the grounds, I think are just a function of that's what's always been done. All I can say is that you're preaching to the converted here, and I would like to see a massive reduction in the number of garbage cans. That's just my personal feeling, but that will only come with a more concerted effort at educating the public about packing in and packing out, and maybe a more robust recycling program, which is virtually non-existent at this point in the park. So, we're going to eat this elephant one bite at a time, and hopefully there'll be some improvements in these areas next year.
Okay, great, thank you.
personally, what I would like to see, and this is a function of the budget, I'd like to see more attractive trash cans. I mean, you can go different places, even in New York City or other places where you see trash cans. That's a nice trash can,
Right, like wrought iron or something?
you know.
Yeah.
But they're fairly expensive, but I think we should look into it and maybe replace the ones we have, which are essentially oil drums,
Yeah,
with more attractive ones over a period of time, not all at once, because they could be very expensive, but over a 5-year period, gradually possibly replace them.
yeah, great.
Bill? Bill?
Playland has the same issue that we do. One of the things they've done is they got this big belly thing that takes a lot. It's one garbage can, but it takes a lot more garbage, and then through solar systems of some sort, it shrinks it so that you use less. I mean, instead of just having a bunch of loose stuff floating around,
Well,
it
it
just
compacts.
bakes it in, and then it gets it's easier to deal with in general. And our issue right now at Rytown Park is that all we have is cans and bottles and trash. And the thing is, I don't know about you all, but I know most people in offices and places, they use a lot of paper. And at this point, all that paper is just being, as far as I understand it, does not get recycled. So that's my question.
Your paper in the park?
In other words, like newspapers,
separated.
paper, things that are paper, that, you would put in a paper, like if you go on Metro North where you have different types of containers, this would be just one more, but you could have less of them.
So, at the
Yeah, well-
moment, our policy is to, wherever we have a trash can, to have a recycling can right next to it. And what you're saying is we should have triplets. We should have trash and 2 recycling
Where
cans.
you might expect there to be a lot of paper would be like where people sit on the benches, and read the paper while they're, out on the sun. I mean, it'd be something to study. Maybe even some volunteers would be interested in that sort of thing. I don't know, but the idea would be to, and it's a law. I know it's a law in Westchester County. Everybody has to recycle. So
Yeah, but we have recycle bins, and I think that when the city of Rye, who picks up our trash?
We do
forgot.
private carding, right?
We have a private carter.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
Portchester used to, but not anymore.
but,
Yes, so we have, and our contract includes recycling
Right.
pickup, which
yeah, but in
happens.
recycling, glass, paper, plastic is all part of recycling. So we're not required to, years ago, you had to separate all of those things. Now you have, it's not quite single stream, obviously, but now all the recyclables go together. So,
you mean the cans and bottles, but like in Rye, we still have to have the separate ones for paper.
And actually, single-stream recycling is under pressure because the Chinese won't take single-stream anymore. So we really would, what we should be doing is dual-stream.
yeah, well, I know that in Rybrook, we put all our recyclables, the paper and the bottles and the plastic all in one.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
a lot of them do it because it's cheaper, I guess. I don't know, but it's not, that
I
stuff.
don't know that, but I'm just saying each community seems to be a little bit different in how they do it. So
Well, I
We'll
think
check
it's worth
into it.
looking into.
we'll check into it. Mr. Horner,
Can I make
absolutely.
a 1-minute suggestion? And trash barrels, the two of them pretty much look alike, and I'm not even sure the recycle one has the word recycle on it. You're just supposed to know because it's blue. Russ, if you're making improvements for next year, if the recycle one was shaped different, looked different, had a big label on it, maybe with some exhortation to get involved, it might work. Because I'm big into environment stuff, and people are pretty careless. They throw the wrappers in both of them pretty much independently, as far as I can see. It gets mixed up, and then it's very less useful. So that was just an idea.
Well, I think that one of our tasks for the off-season is to look into different ways of handling our trash situation. All right, thank you very much. Before we adjourn, I'd just like to say that we have next month's meeting. It says on the agenda is to be determined, and we are hopeful that we're going to be able to have our meeting at the Crawford Mansion Community Center in Rybrook.
Looks beautiful.
That's our goal. Have you been up there?
Now we're at Crawford Park for football on Saturdays and Sundays, so I've been there a number of times lately. Looks great.
Thank you. Thank Debbie too. Debbie, thanks.
Yeah.
It is
You're
coming
welcome.
out very
Beautiful.
nicely. All right, may I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make
Motion.
that motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you all. See you next month.